natamani nikujue zaidi na zaidi Bwana, unijaze, uniongoze, mimi wako milele. For sure, God has been so good to me, taking me through all that pain and giving me a testimony that He is truly Jehovah Rapha. I owe gratitude to Him and I love Him more. And this is Vicky Kitonga, and this is my story.
Few people see inside the local church like a pastor's kid or a PK, and few live a life that so blurs family, vocation, and ministry traditions. It is a wonderfully and painfully unique journey as Vicky Kitonga shares her life experiences and how she has been through it all.
A firstborn in a family of 4, 1 girl and 3 boys. And I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. One recently got married. She's actually an adopted daughter, and I have 2 of my own. And I'm a banker, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a gospel minister. I'm also a designer, I design my outfits. And I'm also a praise and worship leader at the Redeemed Gospel Church, where I have served faithfully for the last 30 years under my parents, Archbishop Arthur Kitonga and Mama Josephine Kitonga. And most of all, I love the Lord with all my heart.
When Dad is a bishop, life can be interesting.
I was born in Uganda about 49 years ago when Dad and Mom had just gotten married, and they moved there so that Dad could start a church. So he had a church of about 4 members. And in 1973 now, when I was just 1.5 months old, Idi Amin drove off all the men of God, and anybody who was a foreigner was driven out of Uganda. And that's when we came, and my parents had nowhere to stay. So one of my uncles, Daddy's brother, left his 1-roomed house in California for them to come and just stay and settle down. And then we stayed in California, and that's where my second, my follower was born in 1974. And that's when Dad started the church in Mathare. And we have lived in many parts of Nairobi, notably Jerusalem. We've stayed in Jericho, we've stayed in Buruburu, in Huruma Flats, and now in Kangemi.
Every pastor's child has a slightly different story, and Vicky's unique aspect of being a pastor's kid is the day she transitioned into her own relationship with the Lord.
Being a pastor's, a PK is the most challenging situation any child can go through, because a lot of people expect you to be a little pastor and a little evangelist. But I thank God that my parents allowed us to be. They just allowed us to be children. And I think that gave us some stability to be able to really discover and love this Christ that they preached to us about. And so I grew up as a normal girl in Buru, and that's what I can remember clearly. And I went to school in Kesup Girls in a place called Iten Tambach. And that's where, first of all, I started in Harambe Primary School, then I went to Kesup Girls. And then I went to Graffin's College. And then I joined the bank. And later on, I advanced my education by going to St. Paul's. So I'm a St. Paul's alumni.
Growing up, you're a normal kid until everybody finds out that your dad is the bishop, and then everything changes. Pastors' kids have a much different experience growing up than anybody else, and Vicky can personally testify to this.
What I'm trying to say is pastors' kids go through a lot, and people do not know. We go through a lot of rejection, especially when we go through challenges, the challenges of life. It took my mother's encouragement for me to be who I have become today. And whenever we were very broken, even emotionally, and my dad was out there preaching, my mom, took charge of the family. And, she is a strong woman, I must say, because it was 4 of us. And it was a journey for me in growing up. I joined the worship team after college, and I've been serving there since then. A time in my life came when I met this guy, and I felt that we should start a family together. My parents did not support that decision that I had made because they had seen a lot ahead. I remember there's a man of God who actually had a bad dream, had a dream that, I was thrown out of the house. And actually that happened after 12 years. And I left, when I went through that situation, I went back home and apologized to my parents. And I thank God that they were strong enough to accept me. I know there are parents who would rather tell their daughters to go back, but they knew it was not gonna work. But I insisted. And the Bible is very clear in Ephesians chapter 6, and it says, honor your father and mother that you may live long and that it may go well with you. It did not go well with me because I insisted on, following that path. But I do not regret, because I'm a warning to the young people who don't listen to their parents, that when your parents say it won't work, it won't work.
Pastors' kids have unique growing up experiences, and with a little extra attention and sensitivity, Vicky made the best out of it.
I have experienced him in all the challenges that I have gone through as a mother, raising my daughters alone. It's been a challenge, but I want to thank God for my dad. He's been a great dad to my kids. I didn't go through those major challenges of, in discipline, and I didn't know what to do, because my father took charge whenever I experienced those challenges. And it's been a journey of challenges, and that's when the Bible is very clear that trials are common to man. You see, when people look at us, especially me coming from a public family, they think we sleep on gold and silver, and we wake up on a big spoon. But we also go through challenges. As I was a child, I remember there are times we didn't even have school fees, and my father would say neema na itoshe. I never understood what neema na itoshe means, but now I do. When I look back, it is grace. We have lived on grace. We have enjoyed our food on grace. We wore the mitumba clothes that my mother used to buy, and now it is grace that I can afford a new outfit like the one I'm wearing. So it's been a journey of grace. And that's the grace that our Father has preached all these years. And that's the grace I'm still holding on. So I want to thank God that my father, being an archbishop that he is right now, whenever he came home, he was not an archbishop. He was a daddy we could jump whose laps we could sit on and listen to his words of wisdom. I thank God that he never brought that authority home. He just came and was a father we could run to. And that is why it was easy for me to just come back home and for him to easily just tell me, my child, just stay right here. We will take care of you and your children.
As a PK, the same person that we live with, who takes care of us, who we see the good and bad sides of, that person is also our pastor and the leader that we seek to learn from at church. Vicky's dynamic life story continues after the break. This week on Crosstalk.
We lack leadership. We elect people, but they really go out there and look after themselves.
The money you come giving us in CDF is not your money.
Yes.
It is our money.
Yeah.
When county governments come telling us and making for us roads, it's not a favor.
Do Kenyans even care about these manifestos?
It's a fact that manifestos are what I would call an MOU
Yes.
between a political party and its followers.
But we must go back and ask ourselves, what has been the hindrance?
That's this Sunday at 8 p.m. Being a product of grace cannot be earned, as it is a gift from God. We do not deserve it.
It's amazing to have parents who can deal with shame, yet they preach, they preach unity in the family. They preach salvation and all that, and yet they could pick my shame and deal with it. And they were proud. They were still proud of me. And that's what gave me sanity to serve, to continue serving in the worship team. Even with the challenges I had, I did not stop serving God.
God meets our indifference daily with forgiveness, for He knows our sins well, and it does not hinder His love for us. Vicky Kitonga is a real testament of what faith can do for you when you need that helping hand.
I know people go through the issues of life, and they can put you down that you withdraw from everybody. But I thank God, because my parents supported me, I continued doing God's work. I continued writing songs. And currently I have 7 albums to my name. It's been quite a challenge trying to balance my responsibility at the bank and being a worship minister, being a gospel minister. Sometimes I don't even know how I'm being a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. But I thank God that somehow I try to balance all, although now I feel that I'm ready to get into ministry. And here I am to say that it doesn't matter what you're going through, you will come out strong. It doesn't matter how many times you have cried, it doesn't matter what people thought about you, what they said about you, what they did to you. If you can only keep your trust in God and neema na itoshe, it shall be well.
The book of Job calls on Christians to trust in the Lord humbly. Whether during pain, suffering, or agony, the Lord will sustain His people through it all for His purposes and glory. Vicky was humbled by the Lord when He revealed Himself to her.
During this COVID season, it was a difficult season for everybody in the world, I must say. We all had, we as a family, as Archbishop Kitonga's family, also had our challenges because we all got COVID and we lost, relatives, we lost our very close friends. And during that period is when I was scheduled to go for an operation on my abdomen. And while I went through that operation, the doctor ruptured my ureter, and I stayed in hospital not knowing that it had happened, and I went home. So after a few days is when I discovered that I cannot, moving bowels was a challenge. I was in a lot of pain. I could not walk. And that's when I decided to go back to hospital. And I went, they took me back to theater. That's when they discovered that it was actually not my bladder, but they still didn't know what my problem was. So I stayed in hospital. And the problem still persisted because I had to be on diapers now, because anytime I would make a move, I would, a lot of water would just pour wherever I was. That was not normal. By the time I was going to hospital, I was a normal person. I knew I would recover after 4 weeks and go back. And that's when my family intervened, and they had a conference meeting with a couple of doctors who were present, and they decided that I need to first of all go through a scan and a few other tests to actually ascertain to what the issue was. And I went through some scan that actually showed that my ureter was cut. And that's when I went for the third surgery. I came out, and that's when I discovered that the problem had been finally resolved, because they had to put somewhere they call a stent. That's what they had to fix on my ureter. And I was discharged, so I went home. And we noticed that I was having a lot of pain, and some brown stuff was on my wound, so we had to go back. I remember I could not even walk. The ambulance had to actually come home to pick me up and take me to hospital. And when they removed the bandage like this, I had sepsis, and all the pus was actually even pouring on the floor. So the doctor was called in, and he said, we have to go back to theater. So I went back. And they opened me up, and they put in a machine called a compressor. Now that was supposed to suck out any sepsis or any matter that was, around my wound. So I stayed with that machine for 8 days, so I had to stay in hospital. And when, actually before that, another doctor did a surgery, had to take me in for the fourth surgery. Before now, I went in for another surgery now to fix the compressor. So when the compressor was removed is when the wound became slightly better, but now I had to go in again. So that was the 6th time. I had to go in to have now the ureter removed, because they said that my ureter had healed now, to remove the stent, that wire called a stent. But when I went home, I had so many other challenges, because one, the wound developed sepsis again, that pus, and I had to go back to hospital to have it cleaned. At the same time, the doctor also forgot some stitches. Oh my God, it was quite an experience for me. And that's when now I was being treated from home. So at home, I had how many pillows? 1, 2, 3, 4. I had about 8 pillows. And there was a way I wanted to, because I could not sleep on my stomach, and neither could I sleep on the side, because the wound was from this corner of my womb to this other corner, because they had to open up my womb or rather my stomach to push in the stent. So the only way I could sleep was on my back. And so, because I didn't want to stretch my wound, the pain was too much. I can't even define pain right now, because that was more than pain. I had pain in the morning, in the noontime, in the evening. Walking to go to the loo, I needed someone to help me. My sister-in-law came to help me, even bathe me, because I feared the shower after having that sepsis. And I lived that life for 3 months.
Despite the darkness around her, Vicky was granted grace, giving her the ability to live in a way that pleased God.
I already had developed trauma that I did not want to be in a dark place because I was scared. I always felt like I was gonna die. And I remember I had to listen to a South African singer called Neyizimu of Spirit of Praise, who sang a song that says, God is good. I feel good. God has been so good to me. That's the song that I would play every moment. I would keep repeating it on my Bluetooth speaker. That's what now gave me some strength, that I feel good. God has been so good to me. And slowly I started picking myself up. Now at least I could go down the stairs. That was quite an achievement. And it was during the COVID season. The doctor had refused people to visit me because my immune system was quite low. During that time, even while in hospital, God gave me so many songs. I wrote about 30 songs during that 9-month sickness. I wrote about 30 songs. And that's when I went to see our bank doctor, who was traumatized because of what I had gone through. And he suggested that I should go for counseling. And that's when I discovered that counseling is very critical for anybody who has been through a divorce, has been through pain, has been through sickness, and has been through a bereavement. You cannot move on before you have dealt with the issues that are eating you up. And that's when I went for counseling.
Christ died so that we could receive forgiveness, and we know we are called to forgive others. Vicky did not grasp the necessity and power of true forgiveness due to the trauma and feelings of bitterness she was dealing with.
I was very angry with the doctor, so I was filled with pain. And every time I would hear anybody mention his name, I would feel like my pressure is rising. But after counseling, I kind of accepted that what happened, and there's nothing I can do about it. And at that time, people were telling, take him to court. Take him to court. Why? He should pay for what he did and all that. And my father kept telling me, just forgive him. God has a way of dealing with people. You can't keep taking people to court. It's just going to hurt you. You'll have that case going on for 12 years. I have forgiven before, but this time around, forgiving made a lot of sense in my life, because I discovered that if I didn't forgive him, I would keep carrying a lot of baggage. Knowing the injuries I have and the pain and the scar, I will live with that scar for the rest of my life. And the challenges that I still have till today, because as much as the ureter healed, I still have challenges that I'm slowly, like I can't, I feel a lot of pain when I need to go for a short call. So I'm still dealing with issues 3 years later. And I'm believing God for total healing. But even as that happens, God has still given me the grace to serve in the church. I'm still dancing in the church. I'm still doing ministry. I'm still a mother. I'm still a daughter to my precious parents. And I'm still an auntie to my nieces and my nephews. So I have learned to be positive. I have learned, and that's what my mother has always taught us, be positive in adversity. When I look back, I've learned in this life that it's important to forgive, because I had to forgive the doctor. And I'm praying for him to live long, that one day we will have this discussion. And now I'm ready to talk to him. I'm ready. Now I'm ready. Then I was not. I have learned to be patient. Be patient through the process.
The next time you feel like judging a pastor's kid, always remember that they are human just like you and I.
I realized that even when you're in pain, you can still serve. Even when your marriage is going through hell, don't concentrate on the marriage. Concentrate on what you can do in God's kingdom. And I want to encourage the viewers that whatever you are going through, let it not put you down, that you even forget yourself and forget that you're here. God brought us into this world to touch the hearts of men and women, and to touch the hearts of the human race. Because even in your pain, you can still serve. I remember that there were women in our church who are really putting me down, you know, saying, how can a single mother lead us worship? Surely lead us in worship. I don't even understand. You know, they would, and I would be told, those words would break me. And I'm telling you, when women want to break you, they'll finish you, you know. But do you know, every time I would get home, I would tell God, give me the grace that as I'm doing your work, whatever they say will not bother me. And I'm telling you, the more they talked, is the more I served. I remember when I was going through that season of pain also, I sang in 27 weddings. Yani, your issues, yours didn't work. And you know why? And people are here. Si ni msanii, Vicky ni msanii, so they would invite me to sing in their weddings. Some I never even charged them. Oh, how much will I'm like, no, I'll be there, don't worry. And I'm this one person who loves weddings. I love seeing people in a marriage and seeing people happy. That's when I discovered that it doesn't matter what pain you're going through if you can only leave all your cares and your pain in the hands of God. My mother told me something, that if you put all your issues in God's hand, you will see God's hand in all your issues. And that's what I have learned over life, that I should learn to put all my cares, my pain, my struggles, my anxieties in God's hands. And I will see Him in all those issues. I'll see His hand in all those issues. And that's why, even after going through all that pain of rejection and my marriage failing, here I am with sickness. I'm still alive and well and looking forward to very good times of ministry, of love, and so many good things that I know God has in store for me.
Just like Vicky, every person's life is a story. When we come to know Jesus personally, He becomes the main character in our life's story. When He becomes the main character in our life then becomes a part of the best story ever told. We hope Vicky's story has inspired you. If you have a story you would like to share with us, kindly text us on 20316 or WhatsApp us on 0786 316 316 or email us on thisismystory@familymedia.tv and we will get back to you. Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.